Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Jackness, and the other guy chatting over there is Dave Bryant, and together we're Ecom Crew. I think most of you probably know who we are since you probably listened to the podcast or have read one of Dave's awesome blog articles, but just in case, wanted to do a quick intro.
And if you guys have any questions, we'll do a Q&A at the end. You can chat or you can type anything in the chat box and I'll answer it while Mike's talking, and vice versa. When I'm talking, Mike can answer in the chat box. But if you have any kind of more pointed questions that you want a longer elaboration for, just put them in the Q&A and then we'll answer them at the end in the Q&A.
Today we're going to be doing a webinar on flows to riches, which is some tidbits on how we grew our email marketing campaigns and how we were able to get 50% of our revenue from email marketing. And it's something that I'm pretty passionate about because it's something that to begin with I was kind of against, and I realized how important it is. So we're going to hit some high level stuff in here, hopefully convince you to start doing more with email. Hopefully give you some takeaways here, even if you've already been doing email. Hopefully there's some takeaways here that you'll enjoy. So without further ado, let's hop into it. So I want to get started here with 10 reasons why email marketing is still very powerful. And one thing to keep in mind here, for those of you who listen and follow me, like I'm really big on treating others like I like to be treated. And I personally hate email. Like I hate getting email in my inbox. It's overwhelmed me. But there are some emails that I do look forward to getting. And over time, I realized that if we can do email marketing in that way, then we can be successful. But there are 10 key reasons why email marketing is really important. Number one, you pay for that email subscriber one time, and then it's yours for life. It's basically something no one can ever take it away from you. With flows, you can set it, email it, and forget it. You're able to communicate to people in an automated way, which is really powerful because you're putting the work in once and you can amplify your time, which is a really important concept in being a successful business person, in my opinion. They're free sales. Once you have someone on your email list, those sales are costing you virtually nothing. I mean, there's the cost of your email service provider and things of that nature, but to send emails, it's a fraction of a penny. We'll call it free. So once you have that email or the customer's acquired, it's free to continue to communicate with them, which is pretty powerful. For us, it became incredibly important for product launches. When you're launching a brand new product that no one's heard of, especially on a crowded marketplace like Amazon, you need a leg up, and having an email list to send about your new product and things of that nature is a huge leg up. And it became a point where for Color, it became almost effortless for us to launch new products, even in the very competitive spaces, because of our email list. It's incredibly important and powerful for things like one-time sales events. Think Black Friday or a Mother's Day sale, 4th of July is coming up, things of this nature. Having people on your email list works. And I think back to some emails I just got over Memorial Day weekend or Father's Day, some of the things I'm subscribed to, and I got sucked in. I bought some more wool shirts on sale because I was on someone's email list. So it's really, really powerful. If done the right way, it can build stickiness. It can make people more rabid fans of your business and your brand, especially if you do some of the things that we're going to talk about in this presentation. But kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, that's mostly providing value to them more than you provide salesy copy, and that can really provide a way to build stickiness with your brand. Number 7 is it helps you boost the lifetime value of your customers. And this is really important, folks. I mean, after 7 years of doing e-commerce now. Unfortunately, this is something I didn't get to begin with, but I definitely get it now, which is that the lifetime value of your customer is one of the most important stats that you're going to have for your business. It's really expensive to acquire new customers. Like all of us on this presentation, on this webinar, are faced with that same problem. It is really expensive to acquire new customers, and it will continue to get more expensive as time goes by. It's never going to get easier from here. It's just going to get a little bit harder. And having people on your email list and the ability to extract more money from them will boost your lifetime value of them and help make those initial CPAs, those cost per acquisitions that you'll pay to get the initial customer, more worthwhile. So it's really, really important. Email allows you to target and segment customers in a way that's just so granular. It's pretty amazing. And we'll be talking about that a little bit in this presentation as well. But imagine being able to target everyone that's bought a particular product in the last 90 days, for instance, or maybe it was more than 90 days ago, but less than 180 days ago. Let's say it's razor blades. So let's say you sold them, a razor and a pack of 5 blades, and that those typically last for about 60 days. About 45 days after they purchase that, you can send them a very targeted email about a refill kit for their razors. So being able to target and segment customers that granularly is really important. Number 9 is being able to win back customers that you've lost. People often spend so much time getting new customers, they forget about the ones that they have. And winning back customers that you've lost, you've only lost them if you don't try to get them back, is the way I kind of look at it. And it's going to be way easier to convince someone who's already purchased from you to buy again if you send them an email and communicate with them in other ways than it will be to go off and get a brand new customer. So you can more cost effectively use your budget by doing this as well, and continue to get that lifetime value of a customer up that we talked about just a second ago. And number 10 is you can do variable and strategic offers and discounts. Gone are the days for us where we just offer everyone a 10% discount all the time or whatever it might be, just to give away some of our profits to try to get the conversion. We have now gotten really granular and strategic with how we offer discounts. And what we found is that our net profit margins have gone up significantly because there's a large portion of people that are just going to buy. They might look for a coupon for a split second, but they want the product and they're just going to buy it. And that buyer is more my behavior. Like if I want something, I'm just going to buy. I'm not going to wait for an abandoned cart sequence or some other strategic event to happen. I want it and I want it now. I want my Oompa Loompa. And so those types of people you want to get full value out of, and the people that are only going to buy with a discount, then you can offer them the discount. So those are 2 really strong arguments for email marketing and why it works. So let's talk about how we use email. And one thing I want to emphasize again is that email has become just such a huge part of what we've done in e-commerce. And it's a huge part of our success. And it's one of these things that, just to reiterate, like I was talking off the top, it was such a conflict for me to begin with, because again, I really like to treat people like I like to be treated, and I flip and hate email. And so it's important to use it in a way that produces results for you, but also aligns with your principles. And if it's working, it's hard to ignore it. And so, when you look at Color It, for instance, email accounted for nearly 50% of all of our website revenue in the trailing 12 months right before we sold it. It was 48%. And we were able to have a 7-figure exit just a couple months ago when we sold colorit.com. That's not 7 figures in sales. We got someone to pay us cash, 7 figures plus inventory for this business, because one of the reasons that it was worth so much was because of our email list. And that's why we have multiple offers on our business, multiple cash offers on our business within just a couple of weeks, because people know the difference when they're looking at a sea of other businesses that are just pure Amazon businesses and don't have a lot of additional value add and things of that nature. They're not nearly as valuable. So this is something that was really profound for us with Color. Let's look at some statistics here. And this came from Klaviyo's website. Pretty interesting numbers when you look at the potential that you can get from customers and from email marketing. So, kind of pick your industry here, depending on what you're doing. And you can see the average open rates for those niches. And then you can look at the click-through rate, the CTR, the conversion rate, and then the revenue for each purchaser. And these obviously are average statistics based on Klaviyo's data, but I find them to be relatively correct. And so for us, we were in the arts and crafts niche. We never got 46% open rates. That's I think on the high end, but we were in the 30s. And the 7% click-through rate I think is pretty appropriate. And so if you can kind of basically say for every person on your email list, you can get X dollars of value out of them, and it becomes reliable revenue for your business by being able to send out these emails. So let's talk about the money potential. Like, what can you make in terms of cash with email marketing to get this in your head that this is something that is worthwhile doing in my business and not ignoring any longer, because there actually is a path to success here and a path to money. So let's just use some average numbers here of the revenue for purchasers at $1.17 for each person. And if you have a list size of 500 people, well, you can expect that each email that you send out is going to be worth about $585. And if you can get it to 25,000 people, and in our case, we had closer to 50,000 active people on our list. We had way more than that on our list, but people that were active that we had not kind of put into a different bucket, the people that were opening up at least 1 email per quarter from us, you could expect to be getting $30,000 potential revenue for each customer. Now, full disclosure for us, it was definitely lower than this in terms of we were never getting $1.17 per purchaser for our niche and for our audience. And that was because of a couple of different things. Number one, again, most of the emails that we were sending were very value-based and not salesy based. So these, I think, numbers are more for it's Black Friday or Father's Day type numbers. And we had a poor clientele. Most of our clientele didn't have a lot of cash. So, but it was still very significant 4 and 5 figure numbers when we would send out emails, and we did that multiple times per week. So it added up to be a huge portion of our sales. Now let's talk about why email fails, which probably a lot of you watching this are in this group or this bucket because you're watching this webinar and you've probably tried email and just haven't had the type of success with it that you would like. So I want to talk about, and the way that I know this is because I was that person at one time. And so I've been through the same mistakes that you guys have probably. So the first thing that people I think that do wrong is they're just not consistent. And this is a problem, not just with email, but a lot of things in people's businesses. They get excited about it for a little bit, they try it, and they just stop. It's why most podcasts fail. It's why most YouTube channels fail. It's why a lot of businesses fail. They just aren't consistent with it. They try it for a bit and they give up. They don't see the revenue, the dollar signs that they were expecting didn't change their life after a couple emails, and they just give up. Or they don't do it frequently enough. They're afraid that they're going to alienate their user base somehow, and they're afraid to email more than once per month or something like that. And what we found is the more that we email, the more revenue we make, and we don't have problems with things like unsubscribes and things of that nature. We're not upsetting people. Our open rates stay high because we're providing value and we're sending good emails. Or they just don't have enough leads. You might only have 50 people on your email list and you haven't put enough effort into the upfront, let's figure out how we're going to get more people on our list. And like I said, we had about 50,000 active email subscribers at the time that we sold Color It, and we had signed up hundreds of thousands of people over the couple of years that we were running it and taking email seriously. So flows and lead magnets are a big solution to these problems, and it's something you guys have heard me talk quite a bit about. Having an opportunity to get people on your list by offering them something that they want. That's a really key factor, right? You want to offer them something that they legitimately want. So you have to look at your business. Every business is different, and find something that works for your business. And again, I think a lot of it, if you go back to the slide before this, people just give up too soon. They try one lead magnet, put up half-ass effort into putting it out with a crappy landing page and not that great of an offer, not that great of an ad. It doesn't really work all that well, and they just stop. But if you put the effort into it like we did, where we just kept on trying offer after offer and landing page after landing page until we found something that was working, boy, did it work. We were able to get subscribers really cheap. We've recreated this in the tactical space. It's working incredibly well there as well. We do this month in and month out on tactical.com, and we actually get leads there cheaper than we were for Color It, which is pretty darn neat. So everything that drives this behind the scenes for us is Klaviyo. And we use Klaviyo, because they're pretty much regarded as the best of breed email platform in the industry. It's way better than a MailChimp or something like that, because it's just way more sophisticated and it's built for e-commerce. It's made to run e-commerce email based on all the different touch points and things I talked about before, including another thing that they do, which is amazing, which is synchronize a segment to Facebook so you can run synchronized Facebook ads as well. So let's talk about some of that here real quick. So the triggers that Klaviyo has, these complex, that's a new word for me, evidently. I can't say complex today. You can do something like email clients or people that have purchased a garlic press. We're always using garlic press as the example. They bought a garlic press, but not a garlic peeler in the last 60 days. Now think about how powerful something like that can be. That they've bought a garlic press. They have trust with you now that you've delivered the product. Hopefully you have a good product, the best product in the industry. And that they're in the kitchen utilities. They like garlic because they bought a garlic press. Well, what can you do to make their life a little bit easier? Before they put the garlic in the press, you need a garlic peeler. So you could send them a targeted email about garlic peelers, which makes it just the level of targeting that you have there is going to extract so much more out of that customer rather than just emailing your whole list about garlic peelers, because people that are buying knife sharpeners may not have any interest in garlic peelers. As I was just talking about a second ago, segments are the real heart, the meat and potatoes of what Klaviyo does. We just have a funny segment that we built here. This is not something you would do in the real world, but you want all the people that are named John that bought pants from you between March 21st and on just that day. And you can make a segment of just those people and do all sorts of things with that. Again, you could send targeted emails. You could exclude them from emails. You could synchronize that segment with Facebook and run targeted ads based on that. The things that you can do there are really profound, and they can become profound even in the very early goings of your e-commerce store. You might only be getting a couple sales per day, but this type of stuff is one of these things that moves the needle so quickly that it can make a pretty big difference. And Klaviyo is actually relatively cheap when you have less than a few hundred people or whatever on your list. So you can actually get started with this relatively cheap. It gets expensive as you grow your list, which is why we're constantly scrubbing it. And the third one is that Klaviyo integrates seamlessly and we say nicely here with Shopify, also BigCommerce. Unfortunately, MailChimp, not so much. I used to be an advocate of using MailChimp for particular types of brands that didn't have the types of customers that bought frequently and things of that nature. But Klaviyo is really the best of breed and integrates directly with Shopify, pulls in all the data, same thing with MailChimp. So with that, we're going to get into email frequency, and Dave's looking like he wants to say something over there. So I'm going to let him say a few words, and then I'll take it back over when he needs a break.
So we're kind of putting the horse before the cart here a little bit. We're going to talk about email frequency and how to actually deliver your emails. And then we'll talk about actually getting people on your list. So again, kind of going, I guess, one step ahead, but it kind of flows in with the presentation. And email frequency is a huge part of email, and it's probably the number one thing that most e-commerce entrepreneurs get wrong. And it's kind of what Mike talked about earlier, is that most entrepreneurs are afraid to email too frequently. They're afraid of annoying their visitors or their subscribers. So when people join your email list, they want to get your emails. That's why they join your email. And the worst thing that you can do is get somebody on your list and then email them once a month or once every 2 months. That's how you annoy your visitors. Then they start to wonder, how did I get on this list? Why am I on this list? But if you email regularly, you don't surprise your subscribers that way. And our kind of general rule of thumb for frequency, for how many times you should be emailing, is 1 to 2 times per week. And more is almost always better. Now, yes, of course, there is a certain limit to how frequent you should be sending emails. If you're sending emails 2 or 3 times a day, yeah, that's probably too much. But 3 or 4 times a week, absolutely no problem, especially if you have original content in that email. If you're sending off the same offer day over day, then yeah, your emails are going to become repetitive and your unsubscribe rates are going to become pretty significant. But if you're emailing a fairly original email, 3 or 4 times a week is absolutely fine, but at least 1 to 2 times per week. Now, in terms of what day of the week that you should be sending out those emails, this is kind of an industry standard when it comes to email. Monday to Thursdays are by far the best days, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are absolute black holes for emails. And it kind of makes sense. On Saturday and Sunday, people are not by their computers, not like during the week where most people are tied to a computer for 8 to 12 hours a day. Even people with mobile now, open rates are beginning to kind of go on the uptick on the weekends because of mobile, but they're still significantly lower than the week. In terms of the best day of the week, having run multiple brands, even running Ecom Crew, there's one day of the week which performs well better than any other day of the week, and that's Thursday. For whatever reason, people are more active on email on Thursday. If you actually monitor your e-commerce sales and you kind of look at it as sales per day of the week, you'll probably find Thursday tends to be your best performing day. So if you're going to send out emails and you're only going to do it once a day, or not once a day, once a week, Thursday is the day that you should be targeting. So Mike's going to talk about how to get people onto your email list and using lead magnets to get people onto your list. That's kind of the whole concept of the Flows to Riches email course that we are going to pitch you at the end here. But even if you're not going to get people onto your list and you're not going to actively be pursuing lead magnets to grow your email list, and you have a website, you have customers right now on your website, hopefully, and there's a few easy flow wins that you should be implementing right today. And if you take nothing else away from this presentation, it's these next 4 flows, which if you're using Klaviyo, you can implement in a matter of an hour or 2. So the first one is an abandoned cart sequence. Now, if you're on Shopify, Shopify does have a built-in abandoned cart sequence. It's not very good. So if you are using Klaviyo, and even MailChimp has an abandoned cart sequence, there's some integration issues now with Klaviyo or MailChimp and Shopify. but Klaviyo still has a native integration. The integration with MailChimp and Klaviyo for abandoned carts is always going to be better than the built-in abandoned cart sequence within Shopify. It's just kind of a plain Jane sequence that you get within Shopify, and I think it dies off after about 24 hours. But an abandoned cart sequence, once you have it implemented, you're going to get around a 2.5% cart recovery rate. So every cart that you lose, 2.5% of them you're going to get back. So if you lose 100 shopping carts, you're going to get back 2.5 of those shopping carts simply by implementing an abandoned cart sequence. The next one that you should be implementing immediately is a win-back campaign. And a win-back campaign is simply somebody who's purchased in the past, but they haven't bought in a certain number of days. And normally a typical win-back campaign is you're targeting them 30 or 60 days after they've made a purchase and they haven't made another purchase since. So a win-back campaign on average is around 1% that you're going to win back as a sale into your website. The third one is a welcome series. Now, a welcome series is simply after somebody buys from you, you put them in some type of welcome series. And a typical welcome series is going to be, hey, thanks for ordering. Here's your tracking information. By the way, here's a little bit about our company, maybe 2 or 3 days later. A couple of days after that, you introduce them to your main categories on your website. Tell the people about what your website actually sells. What are the top selling categories? A couple of days after that, you could then pitch them your top selling products. And as the sequence goes on, you become just a little bit more curated for individual products. Now, like Mike was talking about, flows are absolutely critical. So you want to set this up and basically set it and forget it. So you want your flow to extend at least 20 or 30 emails. I know it sounds daunting, but if you sit down and you write those 20 or 30 emails over the course of a day, you can bang those out pretty quick. And once you have them, they're done. You don't have to think about them ever again. And the fourth one, which you should be implementing immediately, is bought X but not Y campaign. So with our off-roading gear brand, we sell a winch. And a winch, you need either a cable or a rope to go with it. So if you bought a winch, hey, by the way, would you be interested in buying some cable or some rope for your winch? And everyone that has multiple products in their catalog, you can probably pitch those people something that they haven't bought. That's a great thing about upsells and getting a higher average order value, is pitching these people things that they haven't bought from you before. And the fifth thing here, hasn't bought in XX days. That's kind of a repeat of a win-back campaign. So like I mentioned, an abandoned cart sequence, you're going to get about 3% recovery rate on those abandoned carts. On a win-back campaign, they're going to convert about 0.5% of the time. And a welcome series is going to be around 1.5% that you're going to have as a conversion rate. So you add those together, you're basically, simply by implementing those 3 flows alone, you're going to increase your number of orders by 5%. And if you're using Klaviyo, these are literally a matter of putting the switch on for those 3 campaigns. Now, you do want to customize them a little bit, of course, but Klaviyo does have those flows already set up for you. And just another figure here, 60 to 80% of your shopping carts are abandoned. So this is why having an abandoned cart sequence, if nothing else, is absolutely critical. 60 to 80% of shopping carts are abandoned. It's definitely been my experience in all the brands that I've run. Mike, I'm sure you can also echo that sentiment.
Yep.
So you need to have some type of abandoned cart sequence. All right. So that all dealt with how you deal with customers once they're actually on your list and once they've actually made a purchase. And that's why those campaigns and those flows are so effective, because those people have already bought from you at some point, or at least they've shown some inclination to wanting to buy. Now, what do you do with the other 95 to 99% of people that visit your website? Most people, at the very best, have a 5% conversion rate. I've never had a website with a 5% conversion rate. Our conversion rates have always been around 1 to 2%. So in our case, we're losing 98% of people. Even if you have a great converting website, you're losing 95% of your visitors. So what do you do with these people once again to your website? How do you actually get them on your email list? Because we all know once you have them on your email, then you can sell them a lot more effectively. So how do you get those people onto your email? And that's what Mike's going to kind of go into here. It's also the whole premise of the Flows to Riches course that we've done. We've put together 3 really solid lead magnets that you can use to get these other 95% of people onto your email list.
Yeah, and it's actually a good point to just expand upon this thought as well, because that's the people that are visiting your website, right? That doesn't account people that you're advertising to on Facebook or other platforms that you can't even get off that platform and over to your website because you just have these salesy type ads that are running. And so if you can run ads that attract people in a way where they don't have to buy anything, which is what I'm going to talk about here. It gives you another whole arsenal in your tool chest when it comes to advertising. So this is something that we started doing in 2015. It seems like it was yesterday, and sometimes it feels like it's been forever ago, depending on what time scale you're looking at, because in e-commerce, things go by quickly. Everyone's talking about this stuff now, but when we first started doing this, it was pretty revolutionary. There just wasn't any of this stuff out there. And that's value first lead magnets. So what can I give to a customer that has value to them that costs me nothing or very little, is the way that you want to be thinking. And every business has this pretty much. I mean, there's some exceptions, some things that people have asked me about that I have a hard time coming up with something. But if you think about your business, there's almost certainly something that you can do that would work well with your business. So when you're emailing people and doing this type of value first marketing, what this does not mean, number one, first and foremost, why we have this up here is it's not sales and discounts and coupons. This is what most people are doing out there for quote unquote value first marketing, or just marketing or email in general. This is not a way to win people over. Saying that you're going to offer them this $100 product for $75 is not the way. Establishing a relationship with them and giving them something that is valuable to them, that you legitimately could probably sell on the open market for some number that legitimately is worth something. And when someone gets done consuming this value first product, they feel like they almost owe you something, right? Or they have this relationship with you. And it's, I mean, obviously the same type of method that we use for Ecom Crew. It worked incredibly well for color. It's working very well for tactical. Some examples of this could be things like a free PDF ebook. Download an ebook on how to or why, these things that like answer questions, a buyer's guide, things like this. It works really well for complicated niches. A free white paper, again, same type of thing as what I was just talking about, but it's something that provides them value and educates them through the process, to where after they got done reading it, they're like, man, like I actually learned something there that wasn't just fluff and crap. And I feel like I didn't just waste my time. And I feel like I'm wiser now. All these types of adjectives and feelings are very important. One of the things that we've seen that's worked better than anything is a free mini course. That's worked incredibly well for Ecom Crew. If you haven't actually gone and looked at our mini courses yet, they're at ecomcrew.com/free. They're more basic type mini courses. So if you're past the basic level, I would encourage you to go there just to see how we've put them together. You drip them out over time. You try to give people, again, really good value. Kiss My Keto is a company that I'm constantly talking about. If you go check out their website, they have a really good course on a ketogenic diet that by the time you get done watching it, you know exactly what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating and why, and the benefits and risk and all these different types of things about a ketogenic diet, which a lot of people find overwhelming at first. Like, can I eat strawberries or not? Can I have all the bacon I want? Is that real? I mean, all these different types of things are things that you're going to have skepticism about to begin with. But if you can teach someone through a mini course, you can develop that relationship and increase their knowledge. And then obviously you have a product that goes really well with that at some point that they may or may not buy. And stop worrying about how much value you're giving them and that they might go buy from someone else, or all these feelings that people have. Just be a good person, try to be helpful to people and not worry about that stuff, and it'll come. It's still a math game. Just like Dave was talking about, you're not going to ever convert 100% of the people, but if you can convert more people than you are through the traditional ways of marketing, all the better. And again, I think I like this method of doing this more than just trying to shove selling something down people's throats, because now all you're doing is just giving them value and making friends with people versus being an adversary. The thing that worked really well for us in Color It, which you guys, if you've been following us for any length of time, free samples and downloads just works absolutely incredible. And we've actually found a couple now that we're testing with Tactical that are working. One of the ones that we've been working on is things you should have in a bug out bag, for instance. And, it's a very tactical type subject. So we put together an infographic and a download for how to pack and what to pack in a bug out bag. And there's all kinds of stuff on the list that most people just never think about because, they're just not your typical type of products that you would put in a bug out bag. And eventually, these are things where we can sell them products in the long term. All right, so let's chat about the online course. So we have the Flows to Riches. This is the bearded Mike version. When I was back sporting the beard earlier this year when we recorded all this, we put a lot of effort into this course. One thing I do want to mention, Dave and I are not really good salespeople. We don't like doing these sales pitches. So just kind of stick with us for a couple minutes as we talk about it. And then afterwards, there's an open Q&A. We'll stay for as long as you want, answering any questions that you want, regardless if you buy the course or not. Zoom material will still be happy to help you. Kind of like what I was just talking about on the slide before. But let's talk about what we have in this particular course. We have 3 of the exact flows that we used for Color It and for other things that we've been doing. Our mini course flow, how to turn non-purchasers into purchasers. Our Amazon flow, which we didn't even talk about Amazon much on this yet today. But one of the real big keys for us with all this email marketing was how we were able to, like I said, just about basically effortlessly launch new products to new #1 bestsellers on Amazon. And it was all, key here is getting people on our email list and then going through this Amazon flow. Very white hat, sends out offsite traffic over to Amazon. Every product that we launched for the last 18 months of running Color It before we sold it was a new #1 bestseller. And we did no coupons, no super URLs, no gimmicks of any kind, unless you want to call sending your email list over to Amazon a gimmick, and it worked incredibly well. And the sweepstakes flow, which is something that we still use to this day. We started doing it in January 2015, where you give people, give away something for free every day, every week, every month. We're doing it with Tactical. It's working incredibly well. We're getting leads for about 25 cents a piece, which is half what we were paying for Color It. And we're giving away a flashlight a day or a multi-tool a day or whatever other products we have in our catalog, and it works quite well. And we use the exact flows, the exact copy, or actually it's not the copy, it's the template for all of this. And there's 10 other videos on putting together killer emails that get a lot of sales. I mean, we've sent literally millions of emails at this point. So we have 10 emails that break down 10 different factors, one by one, of things that you want to be doing to write killer emails, how to write good subject lines, and a bunch of other things that are involved in that. As a part of purchasing the course, you get unlimited email mentorship from Dave and I. You can send us an email with any questions, and we'll answer them usually within 2 business days. If you sign up for the course, you basically get 5 courses. It's the Flows to Riches, Amazon best-selling launch strategy, our importing from China class, developing a 7-figure brand, and the Facebook Messenger course for e-commerce, which is still very, very relevant. We just have all the courses that we've ever had as a part of this package. You also get access to private twice monthly webinars. So webinars like this, but one of them is an open Q&A. So all we do is we come on for 2 hours and just start answering questions like we're going to be doing right after this. And you'll see kind of how that works. If you're not a premium member, you kind of get a preview of how all that works. Again, open Q&A, any questions you have, we just sit there and answer for 2 hours or until there's no more questions left. And we usually get pretty close to 2 hours. And then the other one is a secret sauce webinar that we do. So we brought people like Dave Husson to help you build your Instagram followers from 0 to 100,000, which was pretty neat. We had Scott Scharf on a couple of weeks ago, like basically him coming in a private format and just answering questions to our community, like on a one-on-one basis. All kinds of really cool stuff. We had John doing some copywriting stuff, pretty cool stuff. For just 1 second, I saw people putting questions in the chat. If you could please put those in the Q&A instead, because we're going to answer questions from the Q&A section. And there's already 15 questions in here. So yeah, if you could, because the chat gets kind of overwhelming to read through later. So if you don't mind doing it in the Q&A. Did you want to say something real quick, Dave?
Yeah, maybe I'll just pop in just for a quick tour of the actual dashboard once you do join premium. Okay, so there's 2 ways to get this course. First way is to buy it kind of a la carte on its own. And it's normally $5.99 because you attended today's webinar. We have a special deal. You can use the coupon code FLOWS and you'll get $200 off. So it's $399. The way that most people do buy our courses is through Ecom Crew Premium. And with Ecom Crew Premium, like Mike mentioned, you get all of our courses, including Flows to Riches, plus 4 other courses, which Mike talked about. The big reason why a lot of people do join Premium, though, is the fact that you get one-on-one support. And I know for both myself and Mike, when we were starting our e-commerce companies, everyone's starting from the beginning at some point. And Ecom Crew Premium isn't necessarily tailored to somebody who has no sales, but maybe you have low 6 figures in sales or even low 7 figures. And you need a little bit of, I don't want to call it mentorship, but there's somebody to reach out to when you have a specific question, whether it's on whether you should form multiple LLCs for multiple brands, or off Amazon tactics, or just even having an Amazon listing review. And so that's the big selling feature of Premium. And like Mike mentioned, we have unlimited one-on-one email support. Just going to show a little screenshot here of our Help Scout. So you can see in the last year here of 180 ratings, we have a 99% happiness score. So even Zappos would be envious of our happiness score here.
I didn't realize we got a negative one. I don't even know who that is now.
We're going to have to figure out who they are. So we do try to go above and beyond when we are answering email questions. A lot of people are emailing in 2 or 3 questions at a time, and we spend a lot of time answering these emails. But even outside of the emails, if you prefer something more live, we do a bi-weekly webinar, and one of those, like Mike mentioned, is a Q&A where basically everyone from Premium gets together in a webinar room and they ask any questions they want, and Mike and I answer those live. And the other one is the Secret Sauce, where we have an expert come in. And the big part about that is that you actually get to talk with that expert after and ask them any questions that you have. So you can join a lot of webinars, but getting that one-on-one interaction with them is something that is kind of exclusive to Premium. Some webinars, you do get that Q&A, but this is a little bit more intimate, and you get a lot more time with that expert kind of one-on-one. So here's the dashboard once you do join Ecom Crew Premium. So you can see you get all access to all your courses here. You also have resources, so things like vendor lists and supplier lists, ton of different resources here that you can use in your e-commerce company. Our private Facebook group. So our private Facebook group has a few hundred members now, or at least a couple hundred members, and very active daily posts on a day-to-day basis. And both Mike and myself are involved in that on a day-to-day basis. Speeches and presentations. So we're both speakers. Mike's a little bit more prolific with his speaking. I think he's speaking every other day now at some conference. So you get access to all the replays of different speeches and presentations that we've given over the years. You also get access to all the webinar replays. And I believe we're getting close to 50 replays now that you can access as soon as you join Premium. And of course, we have just various in-depth guides and other little mini courses that you can access as well. So with the $200 discount, I think it works out to just over $100 a month that you'll pay per year. And personally, I would feel that if you're starting an e-commerce company, it's one of the best investments that you can make to actually get to either from 6 figures to 7 figures, or if you're in the 7 figures, get to a high 7 figures, even 8 figures in your e-commerce brand.
So the $200 off works on either the individual course or Premium, the entire thing? Okay.
So if you do want to use the coupon, though, you have to go to ecomcrew.com/flows and use the coupon code FLOWS, and it expires tomorrow at midnight. Now we can head on over to the Q&A.
All right. So as just again a reminder, I do see more questions coming into the chat. You could please put those in the Q&A. We'd appreciate just to help us keep organized. So let's start off with Tony. Tony had the first question, but I'm not sure what it's in relation to. He says, are you happy with them?
I think he means right message. Are you happy with them? I'm considering trying them for my Shopify site.
I would say yes, right? I mean, we didn't use it for all that long. We were trying to figure out just some profiles of our visitors. It's rather expensive, but we did turn it on, and we had a couple of questions that and we get a pretty decent amount of traffic to our website. So that wasn't going to change. I mean, the breakdown of where people were on their journey, basically, of like what their revenue was and a couple other things. So once we had that, we turned it off, but we might turn it back on again if we have other questions or things that we want to figure out. But yeah, definitely pretty cool software.
Yeah, it's useful even if you use it once for a month to get the profile of your visitors, because otherwise you're just kind of guessing who you think your visitor is. And I know with Ecom Crew especially, we had a couple surprises there, which totally kind of dictates our marketing going forward.
Yeah. Joseph's asking, is it your trademark? I'm not sure, again, what he's referring to there.
Yeah, if you could clarify that, Joseph, what you mean by is it your trademark? Anonymous asks, social media versus content /blog, etc. I'm assuming you're meaning email versus social media versus content blog. Mike, where would you put it on the hierarchy?
I mean, I think email has to be above all that, because if you can get email dialed in from day one, before you're doing social media, before you're doing blogging, it's kind of like a chicken and egg problem. So you do have to have some traffic and some people visiting you before you start getting, you can even get people on your list. But if you have some basic email capture forms, some basic email communication with people from day one, I think it's pretty darn important to make sure that if you're doing social media, you're doing blogging, you're doing content, getting people there, and you're not continuing that conversation with them through email or some other way, then you've basically lost them forever. So, it's again, chicken and egg issue, but I would say email's pretty high up there.
In terms of monetization, it's hard to beat email. Chen asks, how much time did you spend to come up with the contents for a consistent email that are frequently sent out?
And for us, it was a pretty long time. This is like one of these things that's just an evolution. If I knew everything that I knew now, it'd be a lot easier just to start and start banging it out and not to pump up the course more. But that's one of the values to that. The templates are all there, the things that we've done, and it's kind of been proven. So you can probably plop that stuff in within a month or two and have it going pretty well. But you're going to want to continue to refine it. You want to see which messages are getting the best open rates and continuing to refine the verbiage in emails and go back and just make sure that you didn't create a ball of mess that eventually does become a little bit difficult. But we spend time every week on email. So I think that's one of these things where it's not a destination, but a journey.
Yeah, little tip there. If you are constructing your first flow, if you're not going to get flows to riches, map it out either in a chart graphing software like Lucidchart, or if you're a dinosaur like me, Excel. Map out what you want your flow to look like, just the subject of each email, and then dedicate 3 or 4 hours, find a quiet space, probably at night when you're not going to be distracted with phone calls and emails. Take 3 or 4 hours once you have what those emails are going to be, and then to spend some time writing them. And that's the easiest way to bang them out. How can I get leads? Anonymous attendee. Well, the answer is join flows to riches. But the question is, if you have existing traffic to your website, then it's easy to convert that traffic into leads. If you don't have a lot of traffic coming to your website, then you need to somehow get your lead magnet in front of eyeballs. Facebook advertising is probably the quickest and most scalable way to do it. Not necessarily the cheapest, but definitely the quickest and most scalable. Anonymous. Where should I start? First, number 1 to get leads. I only sell on Amazon.
In its most basic form, which is how I always recommend starting because this stuff can get overwhelming, I would just create a landing page through something like ClickFunnels or Lead Pages or whatever, Facebook ads to your landing page with some sort of lead magnet offer. And it's going to depend on what type of products you're selling on Amazon. So you'd have to think through your business and customize it for that, because there is no one size fits all solution. So, is it a downloadable PDF of free stuff, or is it a guide or a buyer's guide, or is it technical, or, whatever, is it a how-to, whatever it might be, it's going to be different depending on what you're selling. So, think through that, and then, try to figure out the thing that's converting for the cheapest. If you can be getting leads for under 50 cents a piece, you're doing very well. Under $1, you're probably doing okay. It's going to be a little inefficient if you just have Amazon and no other blog or social media accounts or any of those types of things, but it definitely still works. And it's more efficient than doing the typical 100% giveaway rebate key type things. If you think about how much money that costs, this is still way cheaper, and you own the list, and it's not Black Hat.
Anonymous asks, is social media the only way to get real leads? No, it's very scalable. And I think that's why you hear about social media a lot. Again, if you have traffic already coming to your website, hopefully it's through some type of organic traffic, then simply convert that into leads. The other thing, again, if you're an Amazon seller, if you're selling hundreds or thousands of products per month, those are all potential leads. And I know it's kind of taboo to talk about getting Amazon customers off of Amazon. There's white hat ways to do it, black hat ways to do it. I mean, having a strong brand and something that people are going to search for after they get your product, that's a very white hat way to do it. If it's a strongly branded product. Inserts, again, you can push the envelope a little bit with inserts, both towards gray and black hat. But the truth of it is, inserts are something that Amazon is not cracking down on. I've yet to hear about somebody having their account suspended for an insert, especially if they're not being egregious with reviews. So there's ways to convert Amazon buyers onto your list. And that's something, again, we go into detail with Flows to Riches, but look at your existing traffic and your existing sales and see if you can get those onto your email list. And that's the best way to get leads. And then after that, social media is definitely the easiest and most scalable. Why are you guys never talking about Graham? I assume you mean Instagram and not Graham.
So Instagram is still a great platform. I mean, I think it's same as Facebook in terms of reach and ability to do this type of stuff with. The big difference is that there's like an age gap there, right? So if you're selling things to young, cool, hip millennials and kids, or under 35 or under 40 somethings, Instagram's probably the way to go. Our audience has traditionally been 40 plus. For Color, it was more like 65 plus, and they're not even on Instagram. So it's really niche dependent. The things that we were doing with Bob Baby that produced any success at all were with Instagram. But we've been focusing most of our time on tactical and in ice reps right now.
Christian, you're talking about Klaviyo using it with Shopify, but how about if we do not have a Shopify store? I have a web page only to present the products, but my only sales channel is Amazon. How do we get that data into Klaviyo? Isn't MailChimp better in this case? So if you have a web page only, I'm not sure how are you hosting that website. If it's a WordPress site, then definitely you can integrate Klaviyo in a WordPress site in a whole bunch of different ways. The most easy way to do it is through simply an embedded form on that WordPress page. So that's one way to do it. And both Klaviyo and MailChimp do offer integration in that way. So it's not really one strong advantage between Klaviyo and MailChimp in that regard. The big advantage about Klaviyo is the fact that, first off, they have native integration with Shopify. You're not on Shopify, so it doesn't really apply to you. But most people are on Shopify, and MailChimp and Shopify had probably one of the most bloody breakups that in the tech world that I can remember in recent times. Still, I'm not sure about the whole logistics behind why that happened. They all have their stories. I guess like every breakup, everyone has their own story. But that's a big reason. I mean, we had to switch off MailChimp simply for that reason, because they lost the integration with Shopify. But if you're hosting a web page only, that's your easiest way. Just embed a form. There's a form builder both within Klaviyo and MailChimp, and embed that form in your website.
Yeah, and I would say MailChimp is better, but it's cheaper.
Yes.
So if you're not taking advantage of Shopify and all those integrations, you're probably better off with MailChimp. And such a time you do get a Shopify store, you can import the emails from MailChimp and the Klaviyo, and there's some seasoning, and it's not super smooth. You got to do some stuff to get your open rates up and not end up in spam, but it's doable. And so if you for the foreseeable future, you don't see yourself with a Shopify store, I would probably just go with MailChimp or Drip.
Although even Klaviyo has fairly good free plans up until I think 500 subscribers or a certain number of emails, but
I think it might be 250. I'm not sure actually.
Yeah.
We haven't been down that level for a long time. So
Anonymous asks, I only have 4 products and only sell on Amazon, and I only have 20 people on my list. Any thoughts?
And I think we kind of covered a lot of that. I mean, I would be looking at landing pages, freebie offers, some type of value first marketing to get people on your list. Hopefully those 4 products that you sell are in the same niche and they're not just like all over the place, because then you can get more value out of your list that way. If your 4 products are all over the place, I would encourage you to pick one niche and stick with it for reasons like this, and a bunch of other things that you'll realize later on that'll make things a lot easier in your life. But yeah, I mean, some sort of basic value first offer. So think about your niche, think about the things that you can do in your niche that provide immense amount of value to your audience, that once you have them on your list, they're most likely to buy your product or be interested in your product. Again, it doesn't work for every single thing. I mean, we would have a tough time doing this for something like ice wraps, which is a boring product that we still sell millions of dollars a year worth of. So don't try to stick a square peg in a round hole. We use other types of email marketing for ice wraps that work well, but we don't really hit with value first marketing very much with that. So just be cognizant of that, if you're selling that type of a widget. But if you're selling things like coloring products, are a great example that you can make that type of content. Anything in the tactical space, fishing, hunting, camping, backpacking, prepping, all these things are really great opportunities to spend as much time as you would developing a product. Spend weeks putting together an amazing white paper or freebie download of some sort that provides value, or an article or something that you can deliver over a series of time is even better, or do a mini course or something like that for that niche. And it will work. I mean, it absolutely will work.
Anonymous says, I think Mike said once that Tuesday is the day to send emails. So it's going to vary according to your brand. You really do, if you have the data, analyze what is your most productive day in terms of both email open rates and also sales. It is going to vary a little bit. Pretty few exceptions of the rule of weekdays being the best day and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday being absolutely black holes.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the variance between those days is pretty minuscule.
Yeah.
Thursday, overall, if you had to pick a day just by industry stats, Thursday is the day. But again, it's going to vary a little bit by brand. With anchoring.com, Monday was our day simply because most people go boating. They lose all their shit while they're boating, and then they have to go and replace it on Monday. So it's going to vary a little bit, but almost always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is the day to send emails.
Thursday was our second best day with Color, just for what it's worth.
Mike, what is a free white paper?
Yeah, so I mean, it can be, I think there's like a small delineation between like a white paper and, you know, some type of freebie download type thing. I mean, they're pretty similar, but a white paper is typically going to be some sort of case study or something that people they probably aren't convinced yet of your type of product or niche. So you're trying to convince them, and there's probably a case study and a bunch of information in there about why this is the thing that you need. So I would say that that's probably the distinguishing factor. I mean, bringing it back to the keto thing again, there could be a bunch of information there about a white paper about how a bunch of doctors have done studies about this type of diet and the benefits it's had, or something maybe about intermittent fasting and those types of benefits and the things that's done. So I would say that that's probably more on the lines of a white paper versus some other type of download or freebie type offer. So I would kind of keep those things in mind.
Chin asks, do you compare competitors' products in your free contents? Yes, we do. Yeah. Something you do want to be careful with. You can quickly get into libel if you're disparaging your competitors. So you do want to keep it as objective as possible.
Yeah, we never do that.
Yes.
Like, it's just not, it doesn't fit our personality. And I mean, plus it's like libel issues, like you're saying. So don't do that.
Jason asks, what is your suggestion for creating an effective insert card that can add Amazon customers to your email list?
Funny you should ask. That's a part of the course. But in all seriousness, I mean, there is definitely white hat things you can be doing there. Registering for a warranty is probably the most effective. So and it's also, that helps with, if you have that policy, that this can also help with counterfeit issues, because you can say, you know, if it's not sold through us, then we aren't going to honor our warranty, for instance. So these types of things are white hat workarounds to other problems on Amazon. But I think that my favorite has become some sort of warranty to get their email. People
tend to be, especially new sellers, tend to be way too cautious when it comes to the insert thing. What Amazon does not want you doing is having an insert saying, hey, we'll give you $5 for a positive review. That's what Amazon doesn't want. And they will come down hard on you if they ever suspect anything to do with that. And they can track that pretty easily if they see that you have an abnormal number of positive reviews relative to your sales. That's where they will crack down. Getting people to register for a warranty, sure, Amazon doesn't want that in their world. They would love to have every customer always stay on Amazon and only ever shop from Amazon. The truth of it is, it's almost impossible for them ever to do anything about that, just for the fact that the vast majority of products on Amazon are not sold exclusively on Amazon. Apple is not going to stop promoting apple.com on their packaging. They're not going to stop having insert cards in their products just because Amazon doesn't want it. And that's kind of the truth of the matter. Just don't be egregious with reviews. And for the most part, you're never going to run afoul. Full disclaimer, Mike Jackness and Dave Bryant will not be liable for any account suspensions. Anonymous asks, does Klaviyo support webhooks as actions? Would be great to combine email with SMS, for instance.
Yes. I first used webhooks with Klaviyo with AfterShip a couple years ago before they had a direct integration. So I know it does it.
Chen asks, premium is at an annual recurring fee. How long does members spend average on the subscription before getting to 7 figures? On average, how long does members stay on a securing member? So in terms of getting to 7 figures, we don't track that, and we're never going to make a promise that you're going to get to 7 figures. It's a support mechanism. Simply buying premium and then doing nothing and your business going from 6 figures to 7 figures, that's not going to happen. It's always, you always get out of it what you put into it. And we're there to support you. But in terms of a guarantee, no, that's not going to happen. On average, how long do members stay as members? So our annual members, we're actually just going through our first renewals right now, and I believe it's well above 50%.
Which is pretty awesome. The reason we made it an annual subscription, Chen, just, instead of making it lifetime, I mean, we're promising a lot of things as a part of the annual membership, one of which is the unlimited email support, one of which is twice monthly webinars. And so staying lifetime, I think, is disingenuous. And that's just not how Dave and I are. Nothing lasts forever. At some point, I don't know when, I hope it's a decade or more from now, but at some point, Ecom Crew will cease to exist, or it'll cease to exist in its current incarnation.
Mike will not be answering emails.
Yeah, at some point. I mean, and I'm pretty close to that already. So it just basically allows us to draw a line in the sand and say a year from now we're going to be done with it. So yeah, so I mean that's the reason. And we're also we add a ton of courses to premium every year. I mean, I shouldn't say a ton, that's not fair, but we're adding at least 2 or 3 every year. That's kind of the pace that we've been on. And the reason we created that premium bundle was because we were creating all these courses and we didn't want to be nickel and diming people all the time. Like every time we release a course, go buy this next one, go buy this next one. Like we're here to hit you up again. That's how most of the industry works. And I just don't like that. We're not in it, purely for the money. I mean, it's obviously an important component, but we care more about the success of people and helping people than anything else. There's also the twice monthly webinars, which are a lot of work. I mean, we're on there for 2 hours each one. So we're committing 4 hours of each of our time per month just for that. So that's why it's an annual subscription.
That is the kind of win-win with a SaaS product, is that the producer of that SaaS product has to stay on top of their game to make sure that their attrition rates don't go through the roof.
Yep.
And that's one of the advantages when you do buy a SaaS product, is that you are getting an implied promise that the product's going to be maintained. And if not, you're going to leave. And that's the promise that we have to live up to when we do a recurring subscription.
Yeah. And we don't have the average number of years yet because this is relatively new. I mean, we started selling courses on Ecom Crew about 2 years ago. They were all individual based at the time. And then by the time we got to like our 3rd or 4th course is when we added premium. And that was about 13, 14 months ago. And so the people that signed up in the first 2 months were over 50% of them are taking it up again, which I think is incredible when you think about the fact that we email everybody and let them know ahead of time that their subscription's renewing, that they're about to get billed over $1,500. We don't just do it and hope that they don't notice it and things of that nature, because that's just, again, not how we are. And so for people to a year later still be getting a lot of value out of it, I think goes to show you like how much effort we put into it.
Chen asks, how do you know emails are getting to your inbox or junk mail folder, and how do you get them out of there?
One of my favorite subjects, actually, because this was one of these things that like made a huge difference for us. I think there's a video about this in the course.
There is.
I don't remember. Okay, I thought there was. So we use a program called GoLock Apps. I'll type it in the chat here real quick. Just noticed Oren's message. Thank you for letting me know that, Oren. We will get that fixed. That's annoying. Evidently, like one of our links on Tactical isn't working. That ticks me off. I hate that. So back to this question. We use this program called GoLock Apps. And the way that it works is you send out an email to a seed list of like 50 people. And so they're all GoLock Apps email boxes, and they're on Yahoo and Google and Microsoft and Apple, et cetera. And when you send the email, you put a little bit of piece of code in the footer of the email, and then they tell you where the email ended up. Is it in the inbox, promotions, or spam? And for us, this was a huge revelation of how we got our open rates to basically double. And there are basically not to take too much time with this, but there's a bunch of words that you can put in your emails that will trigger it to go in the promotions: free, discount, sale, things like this. If you change the footer in Klaviyo from like unsubscribe here to like just the word unsubscribe, that makes a big difference. It's like little subtle things like this, using fewer images, using fewer links, using optimized images. So these are all things that GoLock Apps will coach you on in terms of how to fix your emails to get things more in the inbox. And so for us, like I said, it almost doubled our open rates, and we test every email before we send it out. I don't think we do it for Ecom Crew because I don't think the Kajabi allows you to do that, but we definitely do it with, it's in the chat, GoLock Apps, just click the link. And so that'll help you get your email into the inbox. And if you do end up signing up for the course, there is probably 15 to 30 minutes on that subject.
Chen asks, win-back campaigns, does conversion rate depend on the size of the cart? I mean, order value is always going to be a deciding factor on conversion rate. So there's always diminishing returns. The higher the order value, the lower the conversion rate. So you're going to see that with your win-back campaigns too. But regardless, they're going to be effective. But yes, trying to sell a $1,000 rooftop tent opposed to a $20 recovery rope, you're going to have a lower conversion rate on the win-back campaign on that $1,000 rooftop tent than on the rope.
Joseph's asking if he's the only one with the screen jumping. I'm not seeing that. If anybody else that's still left here, there's still quite a few people in here, but it looks good to me, Joseph. Sorry that you're having that problem.
John asks, love you guys, by the way.
I've
not started any e-commerce biz. What's the best place to start? Do you have any suggestions on that? Like, how can I get started today? Also, I do have a service business. Can I apply your process to the service business?
I would start, okay, so on the e-commerce side, I would start with, there's a really good episode that we did about how to pick the perfect product. Start there. Listen to that. Listen to the things that I've gone through with treadmill versus selling coloring pens versus other random crap. There's a lot of insight there. There's a good episode that I just did with, I have lost some weight. Thank you for noticing. I lost about 10 pounds. Yeah. I stopped drinking, and that was thousands of calories a month right there. And I've been intermittent fasting. So back to what I was talking about. Those episodes, I just did a really good episode with Scott Volker, some stuff we're going to be talking about a lot with Ecom Crew moving forward in terms of how to get attention and build a brand around that and doing that first. I'd encourage you to listen to that. If you already have a service business, I would encourage you to do something that's related to that. And I don't know what the service business is in, but it could be, an electrician, or my friend Grant has a business replacing gaskets in commercial applications. It's like the most niche crazy thing that you would ever think of, but he's doing really well with it. And it's a localized service business. If you have a service business, the reality is you probably already put your 10,000 hours into that business, into that niche, and you're an expert on that. And, hopefully you also enjoy it. That would be that you enjoy the niche and the niche, and it's something that you're passionate about. And if you can marry all those things into a content site and e-commerce business that goes along with your service business, I would say that would be the best of all worlds, because you'll develop a product. If you're running a service business, if you've been doing that for a decade, probably every day or every so often, you're like, man, you're pissed off and something's not going, like, you're right to fix whatever it is that you're fixing. And like, if there was only a thing that did this, and if you could develop that, that would be the thing. Or, this company's gaskets, to use gaskets as an example again, like they constantly have a problem with fraying, or they're paying the ass to get out of the package, or if they had a guide to help you get them installed and lined up properly, or, whatever it would be, and you can fit that into an improved version of their product and make that, those would be the things that I would be thinking about first and foremost. So hopefully that's helpful, John, and hopefully you're still here.
MB asks, what email app works best with Kajabi?
I paid him to say that so we can switch to
yeah.
Drip. So Drip, I would say, is probably the best third-party app that works with Kajabi. We're still using the native Kajabi email, which is not horrible, but it's just not awesome. And with all the things that we have going on, it's kind of funny we're sitting here talking about email and how important email is. We're getting way better with Ecom Crew. In fact, we've actually hired someone to help even make our emails even better now. You'll start seeing some of those changes. Actually, they've already started coming out. But Drip is the best. It allows you to do all these segmentations and if then and blah 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 type things, where Kajabi doesn't. So I would definitely check out Drip.
That's a good note too. The problem is, once you're married to an email provider, it's very difficult to divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why once you are going to jump into it, be committed to that provider, because it is very difficult to break up with that provider down the road. You have all your flows that you need to transfer. You have all your recipients that you need to transfer, the actual individual emails you're going to need to redesign. So it's a very, very labor intensive process. So pick somebody that you're happy with from the beginning. Anonymous asks, are you having more or less success with Facebook Messenger for capturing leads versus landing pages?
So we have less success, if you want to measure that in a very tight vacuum, in terms of it costs us more to get a Messenger subscriber. So I would say that's less success, but it's way more successful overarching long-term. You have the trifecta. I would go listen to those episodes I've done on the podcast about that. We also have the Messenger course. If you're saying anonymous, I'm not sure if you're a premium member or not, but we have that whole trifecta concept that we talk about in that course, which is getting them on your Messenger list, getting them on your email list, and getting them pixeled. So, you might pay, let's say, $1 per subscriber. I'm just throwing out random numbers to get all three of those things, but maybe 75 cents just to get their email. So which one's more successful? Well, in a vacuum, paying 75 cents just to get them on your email is a lower number. But I can tell you definitively that the amount of money that you make from having them on all three is significantly higher. So the best ROI long-term is to get them on both or all three.
And she may have been talking about sending somebody to a landing page directly opposed to the embedded form within the actual messenger bot itself.
And this is interesting because Dave and I have actually experienced completely different results with this. So Dave has used the built-in Facebook form, and we've had way better luck with our process by a lot. So it's interesting. So the moral of that story is, I would say to do both. To always test for your niche. Don't just take it from us just because Dave and Mike say it's so. Like, always test and try it for your niche. I mean, we can only tell you for the few niches that we're in, and it's a big world out there when it comes to e-commerce. I mean, we're in coloring and ice packs and tactical gear and off-roading gear, and then obviously we have all the things that we're hearing from the community, which really helps as well. But sometimes you should try testing stuff like that because you'll get different results.
Anonymous, can you summarize a good welcome sequence? Apparently, initial opens from our leads is low. We already did subject line testing. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but this is something we do cover in the course. It's kind of why we put the course together, because it is these are such common questions that we get. How do you get people from Amazon onto your list? What's a good welcome sequence to have? Like, what is the system for your welcome sequence? But at a high level, your welcome sequence, number one, you should obviously, if they've ordered, give the order information, including the tracking and their receipt. And then from there, you want to introduce them to your company, introduce them to your product categories, provide some feedback in another email, so some customer testimonials, then introduce them to your top selling products. And then from there, kind of rotate between top selling products, different maybe promotions that you're running, and just kind of rotate between those. So that's kind of the first 5 emails that you want to get out, though, is introduction to your company, a few customer testimonials, introduction to your product categories, and introduction to your most popular products. And that's a good kind of starting sequence. And then from there, just talk about individual products. Oren asks, I have 5,000 email subscribers and have never emailed them regularly. How do I get started?
I love this. You got to be careful with the first email that you do send to them, because if you send 5,000 emails all at once and none of them get opened, it's going to cause more harm than good. This is kind of a long subject. You got to be careful about running out of time here. But when you are sending a lot of emails to a stale list, and a lot of them are going to end up in junk or promotions, not get open, get marked as spam, things of this nature. So you got to be very careful with that. But there's a few ways you can go about doing this. The first thing I would probably do is to split this up into 10% blocks and email people that you've got on your list the most recently to start with, because they're probably the freshest. And there's a couple different ideas here that you can go with, but one of them could be emailing, literally, do you still want to hear from us? Or some email that's along the lines of, we know that we haven't been sending out emails. This is something that we're going to be doing moving forward. Before we start sending you emails, can you confirm that you're interested? That's one way to go about it, and just see what happens from there, and see if you can get your open rates to be even respectable. I would not come out out of the gate with just a sale email, get 20% off or something like that. If there's something that you can send that has value, that would be the other thing I would probably try to lead off with. So if you're going to go develop a lead magnet like we've been talking about here, and you're going to offer that to cold traffic, offering that to your warm traffic would probably be a really good place to start. So you could email that to your warm traffic and say, hey, we just recently launched this white paper or this free mini course or whatever it might be. And that's probably a really good place to start. But I would still do that in small chunks, and definitely use GoLock Apps. It's really important when you're emailing a fresh list, because you can do permanent long-term damage to your domain name and your sending profile. Because what happens is, Gmail and these other email platforms are incredibly sophisticated. And so if they see your emails ending up in junk, or being marked as spam, or not being opened, or not being clicked through, et cetera, being unsubscribed, they don't need a whole lot of those actions that are above the standard deviation from the norm, from what they see. And with the small number of emails that you're sending, you can trigger that really quickly. So just be really careful. And I think that those are some good tips without blowing through all the time we have left. Hopefully that's been helpful. All right, I lost my buddy Dave, so I will read the next one here. Nick says, I sell 95% plus via Shopify. I have an email list of around 1,800 people, but I have literally sent one email to my list ever. I justify this because I also hate email, but you're convincing me I should create value here. Most people on my list are previous customers, and some are people who have never or have opted in through our newsletter. Are there themes I should consider for my first email campaigns? How do I do this in a way that will feel natural and not salesy? So I think I just answered quite a bit of that. Maybe expanding upon that is, dude, you got people signing up for your newsletter. They're expecting to get emails from you. You have to email them. And, I think if you follow some of the stuff that we're talking about here, it can feel very natural. I would start with one or two emails, and some of the stuff I was just talking about. If you're going to come out with some sort of lead magnet to get more people in the future on your list, like using that as an initial trigger to get people to go through your emails and open those, I think is a really good place to start. But you'll know if it's too salesy, because your email open rates will drop. So if you can keep them above 20%, you're doing good. You're above the industry average for the most part. If people are opening your emails and not unsubscribing, they want them. And that should give you comfort in the fact that you're doing it right. Again, with color, if people didn't open our emails within the last 13 weeks or hadn't placed an order, hadn't visited our website, they got removed. They didn't have to click on subscribe. We just did it for them because we didn't want to bug people that didn't want all that stuff. So hopefully those are some good tips for you. Warren says, thank you for all the great value considering the course or premium. Awesome, man. I hope to see you on the inside. If not, we still love you. Still listen to the podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Jason asks, can you repeat the rule again for unsubscribing? Yeah, so we don't actually unsubscribe them. We have a bucket in Klaviyo called all emails, or to be emailed basically. And so that segment is people who have opened one of our emails in the past 13 weeks, or have visited our website, or have placed an order. And so if they've done any of those things, they stay on our email. And if they fall outside that scope, they stop getting emailed. This is one of the ways that we've been able to keep our open rates really high. And we're emailing at least twice per week. A quarter is 13 weeks. So if we've emailed someone 26 times in a row and they haven't opened up any of those emails, they're not going to open the 27th one. You got to just acknowledge this and let them go. And so that's what we do. And we could probably even be more aggressive with that and get our metrics even better. But that's what we kind of settled on. And hopefully that's helpful.
Hi, Mike. I'm back.
Hi, Dave.
Chen asks, do the premium membership fees increase year over year? Yes, they do. But once you purchase, your grandfathered into your rate. So that's one advantage to joining sooner rather than later. Anonymous asks, how many people are now listening? Right now,
there were hundreds. Now we're down to 40. A lot of people drop off, obviously, at the end. No one's actually probably listening. Let's be honest. They're just there.
I want to ask Mike if he used UpViral on his other sites like this. Any second thoughts about viral marketing, how we can increase the sales with this technique?
So we've been using mostly Gleam for everything now. UpViral is still perfectly fine. The only reason we ever started using UpViral was because we were doing a lot of stuff with ClickFunnels, and ClickFunnels, again, perfectly fine platform, but we gravitate towards Shopify, once we can. So now that our brands are more established, we have Shopify stores up and running for at least for Wild Baby, and we're about to redesign Wild Baby and relaunch it, which I'm pretty excited about. Eventually, soon here, we'll launch our tactical Shopify store. We've been mostly focusing on the content there. So on tactical, we're using UpViral still, and then anything that's Shopify based, it's Gleam. And so in terms of what seems to really help well for making things viral is offering lots of other options to earn more points. Visiting you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, reading a piece of content, visiting your website, other ways to get more entries, and also referrals. So if you give lots of entries to people for getting them to enter other people in, that does pretty well.
The Ecom Crew podcast is awesome. Thank you, Mike and Dave. Thank you, Chen. Anonymous says, my best podcasts are when you're both together. Keep it coming. All right. Unfortunately, I'm banned.
We did one on tariffs recently, if you like the one that we were together.
I'm banned from the podcast in July, though, because it's Women's Month at Ecom Crew.
It is going to be Women's Month. Are there any women in the chat right now? I see a lot of male names and anonymous. John's asking.
Any cheaper alternatives in GoLock Apps?
It's so cheap. It's you can buy it in. Yes, there's a woman, Ruth. Good to have you here. GoLock Apps is you don't need the subscription. You can buy a la carte, which is what I recommend. It's what we've done. Cool. There's another woman, Kay. Awesome. So Ruth and Kay, we are doing Women's Month next month on the podcast. Literally all 9 guests are going to be women. The reason this started, we did our Ecom Crew Mastermind 2 years ago in Hong Kong. We had 2 women come. And this year we had 0. And it just I don't know, it kind of irritates me just how few women are in entrepreneurship. And I think it should be probably either 50-50 or close to it. And you go to all these different conferences and it's always just a bunch of men. And it's our little way of hopefully getting more women in entrepreneurship. So hopefully you'll enjoy Women's Month. And I think that regardless if you're a man or a woman, all the episodes are awesome. There's a lot of really awesome stories and businesses. So I'm excited about that. Anyway, back to GoLock Apps. There is a la carte pricing. You buy a basket of 100 or whatever sends. It's so cheap, and just use them when you want to. And that's what we've been doing. I mean, it's by far and away the best way to go. All right, so we have hit the end of the questions. Does anybody else have questions? Please put them in the Q&A. If I miss them in the chat box, someone says here, are the slides going to be emailed out? Yes, they will be. Yeah, so if you got any other questions, just put them in the Q&A. If you are interested in Ecom Crew Premium or the Flows to Riches course, it's ecomcrew.com/flows. Don't forget to use the coupon code FLOWS, which will get you $200 off both, or either, I should say, the email course or premium, and that only is good for another day and a half. We don't usually discount these, but we are trying something new with this webinar format and want to see how it converts. So it's us doing conversion rate testing. But hopefully you guys found the webinar helpful. Even if you don't sign up, it's totally cool. We appreciate you guys supporting us. Any other questions, guys? We still got more time if you got questions. If not, I will go find something cool to go do.
So on that note, shall we end it on that?
I think that's a wrap.
All right.
Ecomcrew.com/flows, guys. Go sign up.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone. Take it easy.